Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
Episode 62 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirts. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Get your official TCSF shirts now. As always, I am Big Zena here with my boy, the man, the myth, the legend, E-Rock. Welcome back, brother.
What's up, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. If you are a first-timer or a long-timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. And don't forget, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go on over there, click on support, and you can be a supporter for as low as 99 cents a month. Shout out to Giganto for filling in for me last week. We had some family time, hanging out, barbecue for the holiday. And right now I'm stuck in the house with a cold, waiting on the results of my COVID test, and it's driving me nuts. I've been stuck in the house for a couple of days now. We were all supposed to go to that Sox game for the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Yeah, we were.
White Sox versus Red Sox, and I ruined the good time.
No, you didn't.
I guess the universe knows that I'm a Cubs fan and I don't belong there.
Funny enough, I seen a lot of Cubs fans at the game posting their pictures and their Sox gear, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we might lose this one.
Z, how you doing, man? How was your week?
Week was full of tons of stuff. Let's see. I went Thursday to go to this place called Ide. It's a spa place. So pretty much I was going to different pools, and different pools were doing different things. So either be a cold pool, warm pool, hot pool. One was full of salt, kind of like the Dead Sea. We can float. So pretty much it was some therapy for the hip, back, and knees. Was there for like 90 minutes, and then hit up our spot, Jerk, over there in Chicago and Halstead. Has some good nice Jamaican food. You know me, I love Jamaican food. That's why I love you. And then on Friday, I hit the Sox game. We got a good win, 4-3. And yesterday, I was resting up because I caught a cold too. So I don't know if it was the AC or if I was somebody near me. So I stayed to myself yesterday, and I'm home right now.
Yeah, man, I know it's that time of year. I know a lot of us are kind of getting that cold. You get that mid-winter mid-summer/fall moving into the next season with football season starting. So you get those mornings that are 50 degrees and those afternoons that are 80, and I think that's screwing up everyone's immune system.
It sure is. I mean, it is the AC on, and it's like at 60, and I wake up, I'm shivering cold. That's probably what it is.
I know. That's my guess, too. I think that's what happened to me, too, but I did... I had a day, about a 24-hour period where I couldn't smell anything. I put my whole nose in that little Vicks, and I couldn't smell nothing. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
because that sucker will burn your eyes as soon as you open the jar. So, but it is football season, and fall is fast approaching. And I know there's some of you out there looking for a new gig. So let me tell you about a great opportunity with our friends over at ACSI. With over 50 expert technicians in the Chicagoland area, ACSI offers a one-stop shop for telecom wiring. Whether residential cable installation, fiber to the home, or commercial structured cable wiring. Z, let me tell you the most impressive thing about ACSI. During these hard times, the ACSI crew did their thing during the COVID-19 pandemic, and ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year award. The best part is that ACSI is growing bigger and better than ever. ACSI is now hiring for field sales technicians and project managers. Check out acsi.tech because this Wednesday, September 15th, They are having a virtual hiring event.
There you go.
Head over to acsi.tech. You can email your resume and portfolios over to Nicole, Nichole at acsi.tech. Again, they're looking for residential technician, fiber optic specialist, sales reps, and project managers. They work with Comcast. They work with RCN. And like I said before, they are a proud member of Hacia. They won the award last year. So if you are looking for a new opportunity, this is your chance. Go over to acsi.tech and start a new career.
There you go. Go get you a job. Them unemployment benefits are over.
Yeah, they just ran out this week or next week. So, you know, this is the time. This is the time. Check it out. This week, we're going to talk about one of the hottest teams in baseball on the north side. We talk about the Sox versus Sox matchup as the Red Sox visit the G-Spot. News out of the west side at the United Center. And, of course, it's football season, baby. We talk about the Bears. We talk about a shaky start for the Fighting Irish. Northwestern taking down Indiana State, wherever the hell that is. And Illinois falling to Virginia. And, as always, stirring the pot and more. But first, this is the Big Three.
Thanks, E-Rock. I'm Big Z, and you're not. Now, for today's stories. Hey, I know you like them celebrity fights, and this is a good one. This is one that I queued up just for you. Wow, this one's been brewing for some time. During a recent appearance on the Club Shay Shay podcast, T.O. and the Hall of Fame wide receiver reignited his long-time and long-dormant beef with former Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb. Owens told Fox Sports Shot and Sharp that if he had to fight someone in a boxing match, he would choose his old teammates. So let's listen to that right now.
Yo, this is gonna be fun. It's like, if you had to fight him, who would you want to fight? I said Donovan McNabb. and I'm dead serious. Shannon, I'll knock him out. Because there'd be so much,
But you can't do that. But see, no.
I would go in there. I know I'll be controlled.
Right.
It'll be controlled anger. I'll be like a Navy SEAL. I'll be a Navy SEAL because you know they cool under all conditions, but there will be a fire burning inside of me.
So you literally try to knock the man out.
Clean out. I knock chunky soup from him. from 2004. Trust me. All the heartache and all the stuff that I done went through, being a nice, and it's me trying to be the nice guy. That's me being a nice guy.
I know you, and I know you dead ass serious.
Shannon, I promise you. And I know, like, going in there, you can't just go in there and just reckless abandon.
All right. It goes on for a couple more minutes, and you know what? This would be something entertaining. I'd watch it. I'd pay for the watch.
Look, man, I always like hearing Shannon Sharp, and it's a very unique experience to hear him audio only because this dude always sounds like he's chewing on like a tire rubber, and it's funny. It's like his tongue is too big for his mouth. So to see him, listen to him talking to T.O. like that, it's hilarious. This is, the funniest thing about this whole thing is the chunky soup reference. So I'm going to knock the chunky soup out of his ass from 2004. That was probably my favorite part.
That is the good
I'll
part.
watch it, but you know what? Go ahead.
No, that is the best part of it. That was the best sound clip. But, and I'm watching it, right? And I know you're not going to be able to see it because we're not in the studio today together. But Shannon Sharp looks like a clown. He's just. I guess he's not one of my favorite guys. And T.O., he's that, I can't even say that on there, but he's that kid that struggled through school, but just because he was an athlete, he was pushed along. And you know what? He's that kid that just wants to show out, wants that attention. That's what he is. He's not relevant anymore, so he's trying to create the headlines.
He's bench pressing in his driveway right now.
Oh, I bet he is. I bet she's got, two grocery bags on each side of Campbell's soup, and he's like, I'm going to knock this out of him.
You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember back in the 90s where every hip-hop album had the interludes and the sketches and shit?
Right.
So you on the one album, I think it's One Day It All Makes Sense with Common, And he used to have his pops come on there all the time, and he's like, he left a message. He's like, man, I think I just want to kick Jesse Jackson's ass. That's what this reminds me
just
of so
much. Just a random thing, yeah.
About.
Oh, man. Oh, man. I mean, if they put this on TV, it better be sponsored by Campbell's. That's all I'm going to say. All right, story number 2. And this is another one. This is another one just queued up for you, man. Free agent quarterback Cam Newton said he didn't see his release from the New England Patriots coming in the first remarks since the team caught him 10 days ago. Well, 2 weeks ago now at this point.
What?
Yeah. He said, did it catch you by surprise being released? He goes, absolutely. Newton said in a video released on Friday morning. So here's that clip. I mean, Jesus, this guy's... All right, so let me just paint the picture. He is, it looks like at his old high school.
He's talking to his dad, right?
Right, he's talking to his dad. He's got some capri pants on, some beige pants on, some weird greenish shirt. He's got a fedora hat, but the center of it's cut out.
Yeah.
And his hair's poking through, and he looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer now. So here's the clip. I mean, this guy is a clown. Here we go.
Can we be honest? And this can kind of merge organically.
Bring it to me.
The reason why they released me is because indirectly, I was going to be a distraction.
Without being the starter.
Without being a starter.
Yeah.
And this was
but
not
how?
going to come.
Verbally or in the locker room?
Just my aura.
Okay.
Just my aura. And that's just, and I told you this off camera. That's my gift and my curse.
Yeah.
When you bring a Cam Newton to your facility, when you bring a Cam Newton to your franchise, people are interested by mere fact
they
of
are intrigued.
Who is he?
Yeah.
Why does he wear his hair?
Yeah.
Why does he talk? Why does he act? Why does he perform? Why does all these questions?
Yeah.
So let me be honest with you.
Come to me.
Saying this.
Yeah.
If they would have asked me, would I play behind? They said, Cam, we're gonna give the team to Mac.
Okay.
You're gonna be the second string. We expect you to be everything and some to guide him throughout this tenure.
Okay.
I would have said absolutely, yeah.
Cam.
But listen.
Cam.
Listen. The truth of the matter is this. He would have been uncomfortable.
With you looking over his shoulder?
Yeah.
You felt like that?
Yeah, he would have. And they knew because you have to understand.
You are intimidating presence now.
That is true.
Yeah.
And it comes by mere fact of me being me. Like when you would see a practice clip of, me dancing or them playing music, man, if you put a hidden camera of me in my kitchen and you play some music, I'm still gonna be bobbing my head, listening to the music in the car. That's just how I get myself going.
All right, so yeah.
Can we be honest?
Yeah, he's. Can we be honest here? He looks like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeers, and yes, I would be intimidated that your red nose and antlers are coming up my booty.
All right. Listen, I don't want to make this about his appearance. I don't want to make this about his style because we know that he's a very outspoken and very
eccentric
individual. You know what I mean? Like, yes, eccentric. But we take that as with a grain of salt because we just seen Russell Westbrook walking around with a dress or whatever. We seen Dennis Rodman walking around. Yeah. So this is what I gotta say about that. I don't disagree with what he's saying because since Cam Newton has come into the league with his skill set, with his size, we've seen players come into the NFL with his size and his ability before, or I say his size and his skill set as far as being a quarterback. But we've never seen a guy that could essentially play defensive end, play at the quarterback position. And what I mean by that is that he could throw, but he could also run down the field and not just run, like be elusive like Lamar Jackson, but knock the shit out of you. I mean, this dude was a big beast of a man. And you combine that with the expectation that came out of him when he came out of college, and what he did in the NFL, what he did with Carolina and taking him to the Super Bowl and being on that cusp but not quite getting there and then getting released from that situation. I think there's a lot that's gone on in his head since he's played in the NFL. And I don't disagree with the fact that them giving the reins to Mac Jones would put a bullseye on his back because everyone's trying to pay attention to what Cam's doing. Why did Cam not get the starting position? Because as soon as that's one of the conundrums we have here with the Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields.
Correct.
One's looking over. If you're Justin Fields, you're looking over your back because you got a guy that played 10 years in the league, as your backup. So I mean, it is a tricky situation. I don't disagree with what Cam said. I think he's actually right on point with what he's saying. I think what it is that because he is eccentric, because he wears his hair in a certain way and he dresses a certain way and the way that he speaks and this, that, or whatever, I think he has a very high opinion of himself. And I think what happens is that people don't necessarily live up to the expectations that he has for them. And then, he kind of puts himself on a pedestal, but people have been putting him on a pedestal his whole life as well.
I have no issue with Cam's skills. I have no issues with the way he dresses and presents himself. That's up to him. That's fine. My issue is that you couldn't beat out a kid. You couldn't beat out a kid who just got drafted.
I don't think that's the case. I think what happened is that when New England got when they got Mac Jones, they knew that they wanted to start him, and they said that if it came down to a 50-50 shot, they wanted to give it to the kid. So there's you got a thing that you have to remember is that Bill Belichick is the GM of that team.
That is
he is the one that controls the roster on that team.
Yeah.
So if he says, you know what, knowing what I know, being a coach for 150 years in this league, I know that Cam Newton could possibly be a distraction. I want to give this kid the best chance possible. And I also want to give Cam a chance to latch on with another team because, what is it? It's 3:00 right now on the first Sunday of the NFL season. It's going to be a quarterback or somebody that goes down.
There's already a quarterback down.
2-3 weeks.
Fitzpatrick is down and out for the game with a hip.
And there you go. So I mean, there's opportunities out there, and I think it's fair to Mac Jones to have it where you're not having this looming presence behind you, and it's fair to Cam because now you get an opportunity. If Bill Belichick says, you know what, I want to start with the kid, what do I have to lose? I'm the best coach of all time. I have all these titles. There's not that much pressure on me. The only way that I'm leaving is if I leave. So, hey, let's see what happens.
No, I agree with you on that point that the best thing for the kid, for Mac Jones, is to not to have any distractions. And he's right. He is a distraction because of his loud personality. And they know what his skill set is. So the other thing is that you don't want the kid to start and then he struggles and then the media's going to be like, oh, why don't you just put Cam in? Why don't you put Cam in? Because
why did they make a mistake?
Right. So
now there's nothing.
This is very similar to our situation. We're not going to go backwards. Once you put the kid in, it's his show to run into the ground. You're not going to go backwards anymore. And that's exactly
what the difference is that you have what, a fourth year head coach and a 6th year GM who are still trying to figure out their way and figure out their path in the NFL. Matt Nagy is still basically trying to follow Kansas City footsteps without realizing this ain't Kansas City, you ain't Andy Reid.
He needs to get over that.
And that's how every coach operates. You're going to follow the footsteps.
Yeah. They're disciples of somebody else.
You know how many coaches basically built their career on following what Bill Parcells did and then found their own way later? Bill Belichick is one of them.
Right. All right, let's move on to story number 3. And this one kind of hits home because he's one of our favorite actors from different series. Actor Michael K. Williams, the actor known for his role as Omar, Little Omar in HBO's The Wire, has died. He was 54. He was found dead in New York City apartment Monday afternoon, a law enforcement official told CNN. The investigators found drug paraphernalia near his body. The official said that the investigation is ongoing, according to another law enforcement source who spoke with CNN. What is your favorite character that he played?
First of all, I would like to, extend my condolences to his family. This is a guy that really kind of had a hard time in his life and came through the other side. He was in prison when he was younger. He came through. And he came out to be an unbelievable actor. He had some of the most memorable characters of all time. My favorite character is probably Chalky White.
Likewise.
From Boardwalk Empire, which I still haven't finished watching.
There we go. Now you got to finish it.
But yeah, now I got to finish it. And funny enough is that I've been watching Community because I am stuck at home. And he was actually in that show as well, playing a professor, and literally the same day that he passed. So this is one of those unfortunate things when they say drug paraphernalia. The preliminary reports that I saw was not really like, it wasn't like street drugs. It was more pharmaceutical drugs, sleeping drugs, things like that. So
yeah, empty pill bottles.
What's that?
What they mean by that is probably empty pill bottles. They're just, there.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows what, that's the problem, is that when you're famous and you're a celebrity, you can kind of get your hands on all types of pharmaceutical grade drugs, like what happened with Prince, what happened with Michael Jackson. So it's sad because he really was coming into his own. But I guess the good thing is that he leaves us a lot to remember him by, and that he did solidify his legacy as a great actor.
He sure did. And Chalky White was also my favorite character, alongside with that one-off series of The Night Of, where he's when he's there, he's like the big dog in prison, and he takes a liking to this new kid who's wide-eyed and didn't know what he was getting into. And what I was reading on him is that he took family situations, family stories, his family characters, and imposed it into the acting that he was doing. The Chalky White character was based on his dad. Yeah,
and I believe that, because I mean, you look at the time period that Boardwalk Empire was going on and what is happening. I mean, it was a pretty significant part in race relations at the time. Mm-hmm. So I mean, to have him, like I said, a guy that was in prison, a roughneck, if you will, come out on the other side and really, get his life together and have a significant impact in pop culture. He's definitely going to be sorely missed. I don't want to end this segment on a sad note, so let's talk about something funny that happened. I was not here last week, so we did not touch this.
No.
So ESPN somehow got tricked into televising a football game of a fake high school called Bishop Sycamore. They are largely unknown outside of Ohio. They went viral after they scheduled a game against the number 2 team in the country, according to MaxPreps.com. The team is IMG Academy. The game was televised on ESPN. Bishop Sycamore lost the game 58-0, and it was later revealed that it was their second game in 3 days. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous. They found out that essentially a lot of the commentators were questioning during the broadcast whether they had been deceived by Bishop Sycamore about the quality of the team and when the game was scheduled, and they even expressed concern about the safety of the players because basically they got their ass kicked. When they really kind of looked into it, they found out that this is not a high school team. This is basically a bunch of JUCO transfers, junior college players that were all apparently just fucking terrible at football, and they were, I don't know what the hell, I don't understand what this is. They're now accused of stiffing the hotel where they stayed for the nationally televised Geico ESPN high school football kickoff game.
And there's a warrant. There's a warrant for the head coach.
Insane.
There's a warrant out for the head coach as well.
There's a warrant out for the head coach. I mean, he got fired from the program. Essentially, I did a little bit of digging into this. Essentially, this is like an online school, so I've never seen online football unless you're talking about Madden.
That's the only one.
But yeah, this is just insane. The Bishop Sycamore director talked about the ESPN controversy. He said the football program is not a scam. The school claims to be based in Columbus, Ohio. There is no address listed on the website. Andre Peterson, who played for Jim Tressel back in the 80s at Youngstown State, he is Bishop Sycamore's founder, director, and he currently coaches the team's offensive and defensive lines. What the hell this is? The coach, Roy Johnson, had been fired after the game where these grown men lost the high school game.
This is embarrassing. One by ESPN, just for not doing their due diligence. You're supposed to be the world of sports and knowing you used to be the pinnacle, and now everyone else is coming up above you, man. This is just a black eye for ESPN, and for all those young men in JUCO college who are playing on a online high school team, and you can't beat a high school team. This is embarrassing.
Well, I mean, it's the number 2 team in the country, so you know that. You got football that acts the same way that basketball does with their I forget the term, but where they gather up all the best players in the country and they just basically make these teams like that.
The AAU
the AAU, exactly. Thank you. I mean, look, all sports do this. I mean, as a matter of fact, there was a big story earlier in the season about the Humboldt Park Gators, the all-girl baseball team that went to the tournament, and that team is made up of not just girls from Humboldt Park, but girls from all over the Chicago area. I know for a fact because a friend of mine's daughters played on it. A couple of different friends of mine daughters played in those teams. So, I mean, this is the equivalent of that. When you look at IMG Academy, these are just really, really good players that gathered up and made an AAU football team, number 2 high school team in the country. So that these are going to be like kids that are, headed for the NFL or at least have high aspirations, going to really good colleges to play football. Yep. So it doesn't surprise me that a bunch of, JUCO kids got their ass beat by, good. I mean, hell, we went to Lane. I remember being a freshman. It was a kid that was like 6'5" and had to shave by lunchtime. So, it's just what it is, man. But it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing for these kids or these adults that went on live TV and got their asses kicked by prepubescent kids, and it's embarrassing for ESPN. To be fair, they probably get like a ton of this stuff coming at them all the time, and somebody got fired, man. Somebody got fired.
Oh yeah, someone dropped the ball. That's right. Yeah, that's right. We're good.
And it's probably somebody that was doing exactly what they're told. They're like, okay, this is the team, schedule it, put it on the books, this and that, and they just like, okay, I'm doing what I'm told, and it was probably some intern or some young kid that just put it on the air and didn't really do much research. But I thought this was pretty damn funny. I mean,
it's funny to us, so that's all that matters.
What a joke. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
This is The Loop, our Chicago Sports Roundup where we keep you in the loop.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Z, what's going on at the house that Jordan built and the Chicago Bulls?
The Chicago Bulls signed former Toronto Raptor forward Stanley Johnson on Wednesday. So it's good. Ooh. So they're filling out their roster, back end of the roster with some players that can play defense. They have certain skills. They also announced deals with free agent forwards Tyler Cook and Alize Johnson. I get that right?
Hey, you remember Alize?
The drink
from back in the day.
The drink, yeah,
Ooh.
Yeah, that,
yeah, man.
The Incredible Hulk.
That's what happens when you hang out with girls from the West Side. You drink Alize. At least in the 90s.
Yeah, 90s, 2000s. That all works. That all checks out there. They also signed guard Matt Thomas and Ethan Thompson. Stanley Johnson averaged 6.2 points for Detroit, New Orleans, and Toronto. And since the Pistons drafted him with the 8th overall pick in 2015, he's averaged 4.4. I'm guessing that's points.
Points? I don't know. You wrote this one.
Yeah, I did write this one.
This is where I proofread.
Yeah. He averaged 4.4 points in 61 games for Toronto last season, which was his second season with the Raptors. Zach LaVine, Vucci Man, Kobe White might be the only recognizable names returning next season. There have been some rumblings that the Bulls may be already looking to move on from Kobe White. So 2 years into his NBA career, do you think it's ready? It's early, or is it a good time to move on from Kobe White?
Look, I mean, it looks like AK and ME, Mark Everett, they're looking to fill the roster with players that they've been scouting for a while. I mean, you look at Johnson. I mean, a number 8 overall pick 6 years ago. He bounced around the league a little bit, but I mean, it looks like they're really trying to solidify this bench because they have made so many moves in the past year and a half. Your starting lineup looks completely different than it did to start the season last year.
It sure does.
And Kobe White is a player that I always compare to Zach LaVine. Very similar type of player as far as like just being an explosive scorer, but not great on defense. I think that's really Kobe's problem. But I honestly, I think it's too early to try to move on from Kobe. He's only 2 years into the league. He did have a little bit of an injury issue, and I think with this guy, I think their hope. I mean, this is a first round pick, and I think their hope was that they could really develop him. You look at guys, their last couple of picks. You know, you got Lowry, you got the Claw, whatever the hell this guy's name is, Pat Williams, and you got Kobe. And, you know, we already saw them move on from Lowry, but I really think that they're dependent on what's going to happen with Williams. And I think Kobe White could be a very important part and serve a very important role on this team, especially coming off the bench. When Zach LaVine gets his rest, you do need someone that's going to be able to score off the bench. And I think Kobe White could be that guy.
And I agree with you with that. And Kobe White is only 2 years into the league. He is a bench player. He's going to come out off the bench. He's going to get your 18 to 20 minutes per game, and he can score, 12 to 14 points a game in that role.
Right.
There's going to be times where he gets hot, yes, and he'll score your 20 and 30 points. And that happens with every bench player that's coming off the bench for the first team. So that's going to happen. Is it too early to dismiss him? It is. 2 years into the league. He's got a new administration. He's got a new coach. He's got a new system. Right. Now he's got all new teammates and better quality teammates as far as basketball ability and knowledge. He's in a better place to succeed right now with the Bulls than he would be with anybody else.
100%. And the thing is that you don't want to give up on these young players too early. The Bulls do have a history of doing that. Guys that they brought in and they just kind of let go. I mean, look at a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie, who really shined after he left the Bulls. I have a feeling that that's exactly what's going to happen with Lauri Markkanen. But the fact of the matter is at least with Lauri, that you knew that he did have a shot here and he really just couldn't stay healthy, or he just really never meshed with the culture that's going on here. And I think with this new administration, their goal is to make a brand new culture, start fresh, start from scratch, bring in some veterans that they feel like can definitely help the young guys along and instill a winning culture back in the United Center.
The Acme culture, as I like to call it, is very similar to when Theo came here for the Cubs, where you knew he had a proven record of drafting well, making great deals, changing an organization that's at the bottom and flipping them all the way to the top. That's exactly what I see with the Acme administration, and the fact that they flipped the entire roster within 1 year is amazing.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is funny that you bring that up, because when we really think about it, you think about the role that Theo actually held with the Chicago Cubs. And right now we're seeing Art Karnisovas basically having that same role. We know that he is the president of basketball operations. Right. And technically Mark Eversley is your GM. Mm-hmm. But look who's running the show. You look at that when you look at Theo and Jed, right? That's exactly the same situation in the same hierarchy that the Bulls have put in place. So I gotta say, within the last couple of years, I will give Reinsdorf and their ownership group props for not only what they've been able to do with the Chicago White Sox, but also what they've been able to do with the Chicago Bulls. And it seems that since Jerry Reinsdorf has kind of gave the reins over to his son, that we're seeing a major culture shift in both teams.
Yeah, and again, that goes to exactly what happened with the other team at the United Center when the son took over. Wirtz Jr. took over for the Blackhawks, put the team back on TV, and did a bunch of marketing for them and made the team accessible to everybody, for everybody to come back into the building and love the Blackhawks the way we know they're loved. And it's the same thing with the Bulls. The Bulls held the attendance record for years and years and years. And then recently they sucked, and people were like, you know what, we're sick of it. I mean, we love going to the United Center because it's so much fun, because you have tons of entertainment. But I came to see the product on the court. Not the lady who's on the unicycle flipping teacups and plates onto her head, and then the bucket boys.
Hey. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
She is phenomenal.
She is that, but
with that unicycle that's like 8 feet in the air, and she's like, "Oh, come on, bro!
No,
hey, you couldn't do that."
No, I can't.
But I I think your point is that when that's the most entertaining part of the game,
Yes.
then you have a problem.
That's exactly. I came to see the product on the court, not the halftime show, which is always phenomenal. I'm not going to knock them. They always have great pregame shows as well around the United Center where they have live bands, they have DJs, they have magicians, they have the balloon animal guy. I used to work there. I know all these guys, but personally, he's not. So it's crazy. But I came to see Derrick Rose play, and he was always hurt, and that's what faulted them. And then now we had Felicio at the end of the bench. You're like, I don't come to see Felicio at the end of the bench, I came to see Levine.
No one comes to see him.
Yeah, well, I don't know where he's back in Brazil probably. I came to see Levine dunk. That's what I came to see.
Here's the thing, though. It's just, when you look at the culture of Chicago sports, whether it be the Cubs, the Bears, the White Sox, you're looking at the Blackhawks, the original 16. You're looking at teams that have a very, very rich history, tradition, and the Bulls have only been around since I think 1966. But what happened is that when they basically flipped the script in the 90s and built a dynasty, all of a sudden that now you have that old mentality, even though the team is 50 or 60 years old, you have a different mentality. And what happens is that because of that, you have ownership that stays around for a long time. I mean, look at what's going on with the Chicago Bears, Sweaty Teddy, Virginia, the rest of the crew that have been around since 1910 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that sometimes when you are steeped in tradition, when you have such a long-standing culture and a rich history, you kind of get stuck in a cycle where you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over.
Very complacent. That's right.
We saw the same thing that happened with the Chicago Cubs. They were able to change the culture. We saw that happen with the Chicago White Sox after years and years of them just signing these mediocre cast-offs from other teams to try to put butts in seats. Yep. Now they're actually bringing in their own guys, bringing along guys, and filling in the rest of the spots with your veterans versus just bringing in guys that have played in the league for 10 years. Hopefully you can get a little bit of more juice out of that lemon and see what happens.
Right.
The Blackhawks did the same thing, the way that they changed the culture, just as you said. They brought 3 championships out of that. So now, just in the same fashion, the Chicago Bulls are doing the same thing. And like I said, when we come back to the original question, it's too early to move on from Kobe because you have to see and you have to give this guy a chance with what they're doing and what their culture is right now. He isn't a bad guy. It's not like he's a distraction or been a bad player, but they have to give him a chance.
Yeah, he just got to put in the work this summer and, in the preseason. Show that he can actually, shoot a jump shot and not just be a driving force. He's got to be able to be, I don't want a Rondo where someone would be like, I don't have to guard you because you can't shoot a ball. Or what's his name in Philadelphia.
Right.
Anyways, let's make a transition over to your favorite college football team, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, brother. Tell me what they did this week.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish survived another thriller to start the college football season when they edged out the Toledo Rockets 32-29. I had no idea their name was the Rockets. That sounds terrible. It was a boring game and a frustrating game, and then it just went completely wild. 3-play, 70-yard touchdown drive in just under 30 seconds by the Irish, and quarterback Jack Cohn put the Irish up with just 1:09 left in the game, and a busted Avery Davis reverse pass was converted into 2 points to add a little bit of insurance. Still, it wasn't until Notre Dame stripped the ball away and recovered a fumble with 25 seconds left in the game that we could finally exhale a sigh of relief. They had to come from behind to beat a Toledo team that most people think they should have blown out. The Irish played 2 quarterbacks in Saturday's game, going back and forth between senior transfer Jack Cohn and freshman Tyler Buckner. Buckner provided a spark with his running ability after Cohn got into some trouble, but in the fourth quarter, Cohn was the one that led them to victory. One play after dislocating his finger and having it put back in place by the coaches, Cohn threw the game winner. Now, the Irish just squeaked out a win against Florida State University last week, winning on a overtime field goal after FSU missed it. I guess we can kind of call that luck of the Irish, because I don't know what else to call it.
No, this was a very competitive game. It looks like they.
It was a little too competitive for my taste.
This meeting is the recording has stopped.
Okay, I don't need the recording from there. That's fine. We're fine. I have it on the roadcaster.
Okay.
My issue with Notre Dame has always been they're always playing two quarterbacks. I mean, I don't know. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
Not really, because I mean, last year they I can't remember his name right now. But last year they were pretty consistent. I mean, they went to the playoff. They got their asses blown out. But here's the problem: is that they are not. It seems like they play up and down to their competition, unless it's another Power 5 school, because they have such a hard time against these really good teams. They're in like the Hall of Very Good. These are not This is not a Hall of Fame team as it currently sits now.
Okay.
Now, when we look at some of the game notes here, the Irish did win their 34th consecutive win against an unranked opponent, and their home winning streak is the second longest active streak in the country, right behind Clemson. And Brian Kelly is now just one win away from tying Knute Rockne for the most wins of all time as a head coach of Notre Dame. I think it's something like 103 or 102 or something like that.
He'll get it.
So Brian Kelly's been here for 12 seasons now. Look, I would say at least within modern Fighting Irish history, he is definitely the best coach that they've had. They've been dealing with, they haven't had really strong or solid quarterback play. They've kind of been right down the middle. And the problem is that Notre Dame has a really good tradition of like tight ends and good defensive players and good offensive linemen, but they don't have a good tradition of your explosive players. You got a couple of decent wide receivers. Will Fuller is one. Chase Claypool is one. Receivers that do well in the NFL, but on the college football landscape, you don't have these bruisers as of recent history running behind that line, and you don't have these great quarterbacks. Ian Book is the guy I'm thinking about that they had for a couple years. I mean, even Cone, he's a transfer that came in this season. So, I mean, do they have a chance to make the playoff? I don't know. Look, they got to play Purdue this upcoming weekend over in South Bend. It was really great to see fans back, in the stadium at home. But look, I mean, I'll watch them every week, but these guys just sit there and try to give you a heart attack, and they play down to lesser opponents. But I also think because it's the Irish, some of these teams get up to play them. Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you, that this is their big game of the year for them. So to Toledo Rockets, I mean, that sounds like something that should be put on XN or something like that. I don't know, whatever those things are. Now, a lot of people were pissed because it was streaming on the Peacock app and not on regular broadcast TV. That's why I probably missed it, because football was on TV. I think it was Manchester United was playing, or somebody else. I don't know. There was some soccer going on. So I guess my favorite part is on the Facebook groups, like the boomers were losing their minds, and I'm like, look, everything is streaming. Yes. Technically, when you watch TV, when you watch live TV, that's streaming. Yeah. Because that's why you get the pixels. That's why that's why you're able to record. It's all streaming technically. It's just through a different box. So get used to the future, folks. It's coming. All right, man, what's going on in Evanston with the Northwestern Wildcats? Go Cats. The Cats, they bounced back after a 38-21 season opening loss to Michigan State. This time taking another state from the team, another state team in Indiana State. You don't know where that's at? It's in Indianapolis. It's in Indiana. Oh, the Whitecats sit fair to call that a snooze fest after the Cats went up 14-0 early on. There was limited offense action throughout the contest against FCS program Indiana State. That was a vintage Northwestern football. I mean, it's just the defensive game where they're just going back and forth, and they put up some points, and it's kind of boring. The Whitecats look far from the team that lost to Michigan State last Friday, but also far from the one that won the Citrus Bowl during the 2020 season. Here's, our stock report from Northwestern's 24-6 victory from over Indiana State. I mean, a boring, good victory is all I got to say about it. Go Cats. So I mean, look, go Cats. I mean, look, they lost in the season opener against Mel Tucker, former Bears defensive coordinator Mel Tucker, and Michigan State. And Michigan State is still a better team. We know that because we look at if we kind of look around the Big Ten. You have your powerhouses. You got your Michigan State, you got your Ohio State, you got your Michigan. Penn State, you got teams there that you're expecting to win, and that's why when you look at Northwestern, whatever game they win, it always seems like a bonus because we never expect too much out of them. I think when we look at any team that's led by Pat Fitzgerald, you have a good feeling because you like him. He is from Northwestern. He took over after a tragedy to the team, so anything that they get is a bonus. It's almost like a catcher that can hit as well, But do we get super excited about when Northwestern is early in the season? They're playing against some of these Big Ten opponents. Not necessarily. I mean, like I said, they're sitting there, and I'll turn them on if they're on. But I mean, I'm not just like getting all hyped up to put on my purple jersey.
You have a purple jersey?
Nah. So now that we're talking about the Big Ten, why don't you tell us what's going on with the Illinois Fighting Illini?
Oh boy, the Illini. Jesus, this is not a good one to talk about. The Illinois football team fell to 1-2 on Saturday as the Virginia Cavaliers carved us up with a 42-14 rout. The pass defense is a huge issue when you give up 42 points on 423 passing yards. All blame lies on the secondary. Illinois just doesn't have the talent at defensive back to stop a team from passing the ball. Our best cornerback, Tony Adams, and he was getting burnt quite often. Devon Witherspoon has some good moments, but he was shredded most of the whole game. These are the two best options we have in the secondary, and they're just not good enough.
We all know that this is a Bears town. This is the Bears state. This is the Bears country.
Yep.
Because, Bear down, baby. Look, I mean, I'm glad to talk about them, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, I'll talk about them all day, but, I'm not paying attention to Illinois right now. It's one of those things like, do you really pay attention to Illinois basketball unless they, like, are in the tournament?
I'll wait. I won't watch them till, like, February, right before their tournament, to see who they are and what they are. Illinois, I mean, college basketball, until February. I don't bother with that. And then with the Fighting Illini, as far as the football team, they haven't had a good football team in years.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I'm checking for Alabama and LSU and Clemson and, good teams, even Oregon. I like watching Oregon. I'll put on a Wisconsin game before I put on the Illinois game. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing is, especially when you got the two TV set up like we got here in the fan cave, I'm not looking for Illinois as my first choice. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm glad that you're the team that represents our state, I guess. But they don't have Lovey down there no more either.
No, they don't. So right now they're like pretty much the redheaded stepchild because it is going to be Notre Dame, then Northwestern, and then the Illini. Man, I might even watch the Redbirds over the Illini.
What the hell is the Redbirds?
Oh boy, it's Illinois State University.
Okay, those guys. Yep, sure. Why not?
Go Redbirds.
Yeah, whatever. No, because that's the Cardinals. Man, I don't like that. No, we can scratch that. You could erase that from the record.
Erase that from the record.
Yeah, no.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back we'll be right back with 3 up and 3 down after a word from our sponsors.
This is Chicago. Man. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So, I know you want to do it. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
It's time to touch bases with our baseball teams. This is 3 up and 3 down.
I think I'll perplex him with my slow ball.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
All right, man. What is going on with those Cubbies? They're hot.
The Chicago Cubs are in the middle of a hot streak, winning 8 of 9 last week. Rafael Ortega and Frank the Tank Schwindel have been the ringleaders, hitting some grand slams, senor.
That's right.
That's a grand salamis out there killing it. Look, man, we know what this team is right now. It's a AAA team, but they're really showing out as of late, and they're trying to ruin the Reds' playoff chances. At the very least, I can say that I'm enjoying watching Cubs baseball again for the first time in a long time. These young guys are in their mid to late 20s, and they're taking full advantage of their opportunity. Now, I know fans are still reeling after all the moves that the Cubs made at the trade deadline, but if you're a Cubs fan, man, this is exciting. Just see them actually like show out and do well.
No, this is exciting to watch because I'm even tuning in when they're not playing at the same time. I'll tune in and let's see what Frank is doing. And the Ortega, the kid from Chicago, what he's doing. I mean, you still got some good pieces here. And just you got guys that were getting called up. They're taking their shot at staying here because next year you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be back up here, you're going to be back down in AAA. Are you going to be moved along somewhere else? These guys don't know. So they may be playing for their job or their career, whether it's here or somewhere else.
You know, well, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, since you're such a Cubs fan, Ortega is not the kid from Chicago. That's Michael Hermosillo.
That's right. Hermosillo, yes.
He's actually out. He's actually out right now with an injury. But look, a couple of guys that I'm pretty confident will be up here next year is going to be Schwindel and probably Patrick Wisdom and Bodie that came back from IL this week with his beard nice and grown out. Hopefully he doesn't turn into Dallas Keuchel where he forgets how to do his job. But, you know, Ian Happ has been a little bit better lately. But I think part of the problem that the Cubs are having is that these guys that they expected to have much bigger roles are not showing out like a guy like Ian Happ. But, I mean, I think overall what they're looking at right now is just to go out there, have fun. There's no pressure. I know there was Nicky Two Strikes. There was a sighting of him.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, there was a sighting of Nicky Two Strikes. He was out there taking ground balls and hitting batting practice, so that's a good sign.
So you know what I mean? Like it's exciting to see what they think they have. You know, one player that's always under fire from Cubs fans is Jason Hayward, and he shut up some of his distractors last week after launching a game-winning home run. You know, one thing I've seen is fans blame him for the Cubs because they weren't able to retain Baez and Bryant and Rizzo, but there's no way you can blame him for that. You know, his contract is what it is, and he's been a phenomenal leader for this team for years. He's a Gold Glover. I mean, you know, he's a guy that I hope that in the future Cubs fans really appreciate what he brought to this team, not only during the 2016 championship year, but the subsequent years where he's been a true professional. And despite all this noise, he was removed from the game last Saturday after he slid into third and he got kneed in the head. And Cubs fans literally celebrated this injury. What a bunch of assholes. I mean, like, what is wrong with y'all? He's still a player on the Chicago Cubs. You are supposed to be a fan of the Chicago Cubs. This guy had a very important role in helping the Cubs win a World Series. And, you know, you guys treat him like trash. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, not cool. When he's wearing your team's colors, he's your team's guy. You don't cheer against one of those guys. You can boo him struggling at the plate. You can boo when he makes an error. But the guy's hustling the third and gets injured, and you're cheering that? I don't know, man. That is not cool. Maybe those aren't not the real fans. Those are the transplants and the what do you call it?
The leftover bandwagoners.
Well, the visitors are coming in from different towns. You know, that's
the thing. You know, and that's the thing that I talk about quite a bit is that I always forget that when your team starts to get really good and you start to win championships, just the same way that I started kind of being paying more attention to the Chicago Blackhawks, the same thing happened with the White Sox in 2005 and with the Cubs in 2016. And with that comes the guys that don't understand the history of the struggles. So you don't know what it was like to watch Alfonso Soriano out there just jump all the time for no good damn reason. Some of these like really terrible outfielders or just players in general, and you can't appreciate a guy like that. I still to this day think that when he got busted in the face when he was with Atlanta when he was a young man, that changed the entire trajectory of his career. I think he became gun shy, but and being out there in the outfield is his safe space or whatever you want to say, because he is still a pretty damn good outfielder. And I don't know. I think it's a shame. When we talk about all these fan favorites, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, and Chris Bryant, they've been on the Cubs fans' radar since they were moved. People are still paying attention to these former Cubs. One cool thing that I saw was Rizzo and Baez. They shared a nice moment at first base last week during the Subway Series. Mm-hmm. And, the Mets went and faced the Yankees for the 9/11 anniversary and all that. But they shared a hug at first base. And, the Cubs fans' hearts just melted all over the place. Most of them probably creamed their pants, too.
Oh, boy. Just start making a rom-com right now.
Speaking of former Cubs, Chris Bryant made his return to Wrigley, his first time playing on the north side in an opponent's uniform. The Cubs honored KB with a banner that said 2016, and Bryant gave out cookies with the Cubs logo to the staff. Look, I know there's been a war of words in the media with these former Cubs, and I keep telling people, be a fan of the team. You can still be a fan of the player. But look, these are always going to be our guys. You know what I mean? Like, look, we still talk about the guys from the 85 Bears like they're, a family member. You know what I mean? So these are players that will be in our hearts forever. And I honestly, I'm a little bit disheartened by the way that this team, these players that finally helped your favorite baseball team win a World Series, how they get treated like trash. Some of them are put up on a pedestal. Some of them are like, you're the best guy ever. But I mean, even a guy like Mike Montgomery, who is no longer in MLB. I actually saw him in the Japanese leagues trying to attack an umpire over the strike zone. He literally threw a ball at an ump. It was nuts. But I mean, look, I feel like some of these guys are overloved, and some of the guys that were here, they're just getting a lot of hate for no good reason.
I think they're overloved just because other Cub fans, the real Cub fans who've been through the struggle, they will put these guys, like you said, like the Bears, they're put on a statue, a platform that no one can touch. It's very, very much like that. The comparisons are very, very similar. Again, these guys can come into Chicago and get a free meal wherever they want because they're beloved by the city. So that I am not knocking that. I don't condone the booing of one of the players. I don't think that's cool at all. What I'm looking and trying to focus on are Cub fans concerned with draft picks over the winning right now. You have a great momentum. It's good for morale, but you're costing yourself a draft pick. And I know players are going to play to win. GMs and managers are looking at the big picture. So what is your concern there?
Here's the thing. It's not like they don't get the draft if they keep winning. You know what I mean? Like they're still going to get a draft pick.
Right. You're dropping from a top 10 to top 15, and that's a huge difference when it comes to MLB prospects.
Does it really? Because look at some of these guys that are like come out of nowhere and then they smash. You know what I mean? Like you get guys that are like 19, 20, and they come up and they have a flash in the pan and you never see them again. You know what I mean? Like I'm not that concerned with high draft picks in the MLB. I'm sorry. I'm just not, man.
Well, the thing is that you guys have not developed pitching. You guys have bought pitching in the recent years.
Okay, and most teams, honestly, like what aside from what the Mets,
the White Sox,
the Mets that went up there, the Mets built up their team. The White Sox got a couple of guys, but look who else is in your starting rotation that came from another team?
Keuchel,
Lance Lynn, Giolito, Keuchel, Cease came from the Cubs. I mean, he was a prospect. So I mean, it's not like you guys are. It's not like most teams develop pitching that much. Most of the time, you're leaning on guys that were a number 3 or they're just up and coming or whatever it is coming from another team. Their contract is up. They just went to the playoffs. They had a great year, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look at Trevor Bauer gets traded. Yu Darvish gets traded. So, I mean, it's not like this isn't a traditional thing where really good pitchers end up on different teams anyway. What's his name? two eyes, two different color eyes from Washington. He went over. I can't remember his name top of my head right now. But he's in the Dodgers right now. You know what I mean? So like pitchers you can find pitching.
You're gonna pay for it though. That's the issue.
You're gonna pay for it. But I mean, like everyone pays for everything. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to pitching, not many teams develop their own pitchers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got Tampa. You got there's a
but Tampa. But the thing is that look at Blake Snell is not on Tampa anymore. You're talking about one team in the whole MLB that consistently builds up their pitchers. Maybe. Every other team every other team's best pitcher probably came from another team.
Yeah, you can say that. All right, so with who's out of this new bunch of these new guys that are playing well, which ones are going to be your building blocks on next run?
I mean, realistically, I think you're looking at Schwindel. I think he's a good player. I think that.
That's a fine.
I beg your pardon. What was that? The cold kicking in, but I think again, Schwindel is the guy that we could look for because he's already becoming a fan favorite. He's already got a meme of him, like with the finger guns. He's got the cool slick back hair. He kind of looks like a dork with the helmet on, but you take his helmet off. He looks like a cool guy. He's out there hanging out in Wrigleyville, trying to pick up girls, at 3 a.m. before game day, like in the 60s. I think Ortega will be around. I think he's the guy that's in his, I think he's 30 now. Wisdom, you're going to see stick around next year. What role? I don't know. He might be starting. Schwindel, I think, will probably start at first. And like I said before, you got Madrigal and you got Ed Howard sitting down there. So, I mean, there is guys that are coming up. And we also really have to see what Michael Hermosillo has because he hasn't really had a chance to play except for a cup of coffee. The other guys that are playing in your outfield are guys that you've had for a while. Matt Duffy. I think that the biggest thing is that the Cubs have to look at free agency and see how they're going to fill these holes.
Right, and that's where I was going to go with that is, will the Cubs spend in free agency, and who are your main targets?
I mean, I think really what you're going to look at right now is probably one of these shortstops that's going to be available. You got Trevor Story. Javi is going to be a free agent again. That's the kid up in...
you got Simeon over there in Toronto.
There it is.
He's playing second base, but he's a shortstop. I'm talking
about Carlos Correa. I'd like to see him target Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
I think with him, I think it's tricky going into next season because you don't know what you have. You're going to see guys like Madrigal come up and see what they can do for your team, what their chemistry is. Because don't forget, you still have, I think you do have another year of Hayward, in which will be his last season.
Right.
But you also have Bodie, who's going to be around. Ian Happ, I have no idea what they're going to do with him. And then you got your leader of the team right now, which is Wilson Contreras. So I think more than anything, if they're going to look at free agents, you might get some mid-level pitchers. You might see a couple of outfielders, but it just really depends on who is available and who doesn't sign back with their current team.
Do you have trust in Jed Hoyer?
I mean, I have just as much trust in Jed Hoyer as I did with Theo. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, where do you think he learned everything he knows?
All right.
I think part of the issue that's going on right now is that Cubs fans want to blame the Ricketts family. They want to blame Jed Hoyer. And don't forget, Theo ran out of town a year before his contract was up when the shit was about to hit the fan.
He left Jed Hoyer with the bag.
Yeah, he absolutely left Jed Hoyer holding the bag. And Jed Hoyer was like, look, man, thank you for letting me be the GM of the Chicago Cubs, one of the marquee franchises of Major League Baseball. But what the fuck, man? Like, what? Why does this bag that you left me holding look like all of the fucking piles of shit that I just picked up from the dog park? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And hey, Hoyer had to deal with it, and that's just what it is. It's his job. I trust him to do what is necessary to make this team better. I think things that Cubs fans easily forget is that these players they traded away were not signed going into next season.
Right.
They were offered contracts that they did not sign. And that's why they're not here going into next season. Whether the negotiations went sour where they felt like they were worth more than they were being offered, whatever the case may be. They are not here, and they didn't sign here. They were all free agents. So when you have a free agent and you recognize the fact that the team isn't going anywhere, do you hold on to them for another half a season just to appease the fans so you can get more butts and seats? Because people are still going whether the team on the field is really, really good or, in the middle of the pack like they are now. Because they're not exactly bottom feeders. They're just kind of floating into space. And I think what happened is that we got used to the success of the previous, core, and we just want more and more and more. Well, guess what? The Cubs went on, an 11-game losing streak with those core players?
Yep, they
and
did.
they went on an 11-game losing streak with the current team.
Right.
And now they went on, a 7 or 8 game winning streak. So baseball is streaky in general. I'd like to see them maybe possibly bring back one of these guys that they did trade away. Maybe KB would be great. I don't know if they can. We talked about this early in the year, the Yankees model, what they did with Aroldis Chapman. But, either Rizzo or KB, I'd love to see Javi back. But again, I think he's very flawed. And I think I would love to see Correa over Javi. So those are two guys that I would probably trade or target in the offseason is KB and Correa.
Yeah, the thing is that if you bring in a shortstop, is Ed Howard ready yet, or is he still a couple of years away where you can sign these guys for 1, 2, 3 years?
So they drafted Ed Howard at 19 years of age, so I don't think he's ready yet. But you got to remember, it's not like the Cubs are really set at outfield either. You do have Hayward, who's going to be gone after next season. If you had Correa and KB, Correa can slide over and play third for you. KB is going to play your outfield, and then you have a slot for Ed Howard. You also have Magical, and you also have Bodie, who can play pretty much anywhere on the field. So if you need an outfielder in a pinch, you can throw Bodie out there and know that he's at least going to be consistent with his play.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
All right, Z, what's going on with the Soul Site?
White Sox, White Sox, go, go, White Sox. Let's go, 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 White Sox. We're with you all.
The White Sox, they've been stung hard by the injury bug, brother. I mean, it's been disgusting. Tim Anderson went on DL because of his legs. He's supposed to be back today, Tuesday. The problem is that when Tim Anderson's out of the lineup, they don't go. He's your what's that guy in the Cubs?
We go Dexter Fowler.
There you go, Dexter Fowler. Yeah, kind of. It's very, very similar. It's disparaging the amount of wins with him and without him. It's like a 20-game difference of wins with and without him. So we need him back on the field. He'll be back today versus the Angels. You got Eloy, who got struck by a foul ball in the dugout, in the knee, during the game. Go ahead.
That's just pure luck. If you didn't have bad luck, you wouldn't have no luck at all.
Yeah, he's been mushed. I mean, he's been playing okay. Yeah, his bat has been kind of streaky. It's kind of cold right now. He's been swinging for the fences. Engel, yes, we still have Engel on the team. He's on a rehab assignment. Yeah, that guy, yeah. He's on a rehab assignment. Should be back within the next couple weeks. Lynn actually pitched on Sunday. He gets no decision because the White Sox end up winning 2-1 in the bottom of the ninth.
A win's a win, bro.
A win is a win. Rodon pitched very well on Friday, and Giolito, again, still dealing with the hamstring, so he'll be back pretty soon. There's a lot of injuries. We just got Billy Hamilton back. I mean, everyone's just getting hurt. We've had the entire roster, except for Engel, so I can't say the entire roster. We had just about everybody healthy for 2 days all year. So the fact that they're 10, 11, 12 games, whatever it is right now, ahead of everybody else with a roster that's been rotating almost on a daily basis that you don't know who's going to be put out there, is pretty impressive. And that's you tip your hat to La Russa for doing all his hard work now.
And that's what I was just about to say. I mean, that's TLR all the way through. And it's not just him, but it's also his coaching staff. One of the things that I've been saying all season is that one of the most important things about being a good manager, a guy that's been managing for 40 plus years, is the fact that some of the best baseball coaches in the game. So you know who to bring with you. You have a lot of connections. You have a lot of scouting reports that a lot of other younger managers might not have access to. We look at, Cubs with David Ross, he's kind of out there on his own, and he hasn't even been near the team in like a while now because he had the positive COVID test. So
Right.
the more time that he spends away from the team is detrimental. And when you look at the flip side, TLR has so much experience with all these different coaches and players in the league that he does have an advantage when it comes to that. And he's able to recognize what players will be able to fill in the situation that your star player is not available.
Yeah, he's really good at that, and he does get a little cute sometimes. I think on Saturday's game, he started subbing left and right, and it didn't work out. And again, that's what's going to happen. You're not going to win every single time. You're not going to play the lottery and win every single time. So he made some adjustments. They didn't pan out. At the end of the day, it's up to the player to produce. He can only put you in the best position to succeed. You still got to swing the bat and get a hit.
I mean, I think sometimes what happens is, especially with him, is that he just gets bored. He's like, 162 games again? All right, guys, let's shake it up. And, he just throws some spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, well, my main concern right now, besides everyone getting healthy, is the defense. For the past 2 weeks, it's been kind of suspect where they've been throwing the ball around. Runs are beginning put on the board because they're throwing a second and it goes into the outfield, and then they try to get overcompensate, and then the ball gets past the catcher in a pass ball, and then there's easy runs are just being produced by the other team or given away to the other team because of the lackadaisical defensive play, and I just don't feel like they have the fire yet to win, and I think they're just lackadaisical for that 10-game lead.
Look, as a youth softball coach, I'm very well aware of overthrows and not knowing exactly where the ball needs to go. This is a very familiar concept to me, and the shame of it all is that when I turn on a White Sox game, when I see this, I'm like, I already saw this like an hour ago. What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Y'all professionals.
Exactly.
So someone definitely needs to light a fire under their ass, and I mean, I don't know if Tony La Russa has enough breath in him to yell loud enough that it'll wake him up. But I will say this, once they finally get all their players back, it's almost, the problem is that when you're 10 games above and you've been 10 games above for so long,
since August 1st,
you start to get complacent.
Yeah.
And the problem is that they need to be able to pull out of that funk and stop going through the motions, because they came off to a hot start. Okay, you had the Yerminator, you had all these great stories, and now you're at a point where you really got to start ramping them up, because it's September, folks, and the playoffs are coming up real soon, and you cannot just sit there and rely on your record when it comes to the playoffs.
They got 20 games left right now. They're tied for second place in the AL. They should be focusing on getting that second place slot. The reason for that is that you'll have home field advantage against the Astros. The Astros are a great team, and they kicked our ass the series here and the series over there. So if there's one thing that you can control, is having that home field advantage where you're about 18 games over 500 at home. You want that advantage. I mean, you saw it today against Boston. This weekend against Boston, they went 2 out of 3. They were all one-run games, which is a good thing to do and a bad thing. Like I'm glad they're winning these one-run games, because then you're not, sweating that we're going to lose these games. But at the same time, we need to be putting crooked numbers on the board.
You know what? And I'll actually disagree with you there that you need to be putting crooked numbers on the board, because I think actually right now, considering the fact that they have been complacent, these little one-run games are very beneficial to your team, because when you get to the playoffs, there ain't no crooked numbers. It's all one-run games. It's all scratching off a run. It's all trying to do whatever I can to get someone across the plate. So now what you're essentially doing is you're practicing for that. Because you can put crooked numbers on the board all you want. Sure, that's fun. I love home run derbies as much as the next guy. But you still need to remember what you have to do when you're put in a situation where it's the 7th inning, it's the 8th inning, and you're down by a run, and it's a 2-1 game, or if it's a 3-4 game, or whatever it is. You can't sit there and rely on someone to come through and just smack one, into the stands. How do I do whatever I can to scratch a run across the plate? What do I have to do to get that ball in the hands of the bullpen, which you put a lot of stock into, and let them close out this game for us. By the time you get towards the end of the game, that should be your focus, is closing out the game, not how do I score because we're about to lose.
Yeah, but that end of the bullpen has not been consistent either. It looks like we traded pitchers, but they stayed in the same body. They stayed.
They got to figure that shit out too.
Kimbrel's body stayed over in Wrigley, and then the kid stayed here. So like that, it looks just like that. Kimbrel has not been lights out, and granted, he's not in the role that he should be in. He should be closing at this point because it just depends on the matchup. For me, it's just a matchup thing. It shouldn't be like, oh, he's closing versus no. It's a matchup thing, and Tony's good at using matchups and numbers. Yesterday, Saturday, Kimbrel was out there. Today, he was out there again, and he walked two people on that knuckle curve. He just kept throwing the knuckle curve over and over and over and walked 2 players. So the back of the bullpen isn't that secure yet.
It's not, but that's the trick of it, is when you take a guy who's probably one of the best closers of all time and you put him in a secondary role to a different guy, he's got to change his mindset, because don't forget, he was off his game for a couple of years. It was only recently that he really came back to form, where for a while hitters were not scared of Craig Kimbrel. It was only this season when he went on a tear that all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I got to face him. Mm-hmm. And that hadn't been the case in a while. I mean, don't forget, the Cubs got him as a free agent. He was sitting on his couch, the same way that the Braves got Keuchel. Yep. Okay, he was just sitting at home. So it wasn't like he was this big trade. They signed him off of his sofa. Mm-hmm. So he finally came back to form. You can thank whoever you want for that. And guess what? Now he's your problem, and he's got to figure it out. So they got to decide: is this guy going to be the closer, or are we going to let him sit there and stay in his role where he's clearly not comfortable?
Well, the 2 instances I'm talking about, he was closing the game, so he's just not comfortable flip-flopping, as is what I think it is.
Right.
All right. So the White Sox got the Angels this week, and then the Rangers right after. Both who are well below. The Angels are 500 team. Rangers are 30 under. It's time to put these teams away and put a winning streak. These two should be sweeps.
The Angels are such a weird team because they got Mike Trout, who's one of the best players in the game, that I want to say that they've already been discussing shutting down for the season. And then you got Shohei Ohtani, who's clearly going to be the MVP of the AL. There's no way that he's not. He's hitting everything in sight. He's pitching like a monster. And it's a shame that he is on an AL team, in my opinion. He's an all-the-way NL player, but that's neither here nor there. You have to watch out for him because he can bite you. But the problem is that if he's the only good player in a shit team, it doesn't really matter. It's really important that they put away these teams and not just go through the motions in these games. I think when you look at them defensively, Lou Bob has actually done a really good job in the outfield. The way that he's been able to kind of judge the way that he's seeing the ball, the way that he's recognizing. I think the other day he had a play where he knew he wasn't going to get it. He let the ball carry him off the ball, and he was able to get that in. Right. But one thing that I'm concerned about, and we talked about pitchers coming from other teams before, is what are the White Sox going to do with a guy like Dallas Keuchel? I mean, does he even make the playoff roster at this point?
Let's see. So no, he doesn't make the playoff roster at this point. If I'm in charge, either way, it's a 3-game series for the first. The first series is a 3-game series, so you always add a bat rather than a pitcher. So he doesn't make it. You put Lopez instead of him. Either way, it's gonna be a bullpen anyways.
Now think about that sentence and that statement and that sentiment. And did you ever think at the beginning of the season that's something that you would say?
No, not at all. I was thinking Keuchel was gonna dominate, probably compete for the Cy Young. Lopez would have been released. There's tons of Twilight Zone about that whole comment. Yeah, Keuchel should not be out there.
There's 2 players, both pitchers who have been with the White Sox for a long time. And I don't know if it's because of the teammates, the way that they've been playing around them, seeing the other younger guys step it up. But the 2 guys that I'm talking about are Rodon and Lopez. These are two guys that you never thought that you'd be able to count on a consistent basis for the Chicago White Sox. We definitely thought that Keuchel was going to be the guy, that Giolito was going to be the guy. Didn't really know what to expect from Lance Lynn in the long run, but he's happy here and he was doing his thing until he got injured. So, I mean, I think it's a great surprise for White Sox fans to see Lopez and Rodon doing well, because Keuchel just isn't getting it done. Now, let me ask you about another young pitcher for the White Sox, and that's Dylan Cease. Are you concerned with him? Because he did give up some runs in the first game.
He gave up. Looks like he gave up 6 runs the other day. His release point and the way he was finishing was not what his usual release points and the way. So it was all mechanics, and that's why he wasn't pitching. He was wild. When he was throwing 100, it was way above people's head. When he was trying to put it at 97, it was in the dirt. He was all over the place, and that's because of his mechanics. They were just completely off, and that happens to pitchers.
Yeah, no, I mean any throwing motion can be thrown off. I mean, all you got to do is just move a different way or try to put yourself back. I mean, realistically, we're talking about muscle memory. Right. Pitchers, quarterbacks, hell, even dart players, bowlers. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's muscle memory, remembering how your body should react every time you're trying to do it.
Repeating the same motion over and over, right? It's hard.
I think as a starter, he's someone that they're definitely going to have to rely on going into the playoffs. I think their bullpen has looked really good when you look at the crotch rocket, when you look at Kopech,
Tepera.
Those guys, Tepera, the middle of your bullpen
is the strongest.
I feel really good about. The back end, I'm not so sure about, but right. I think that when it comes down to crunch time, Hendricks and Kimbrel will be able to get it done.
Yeah.
And Tepera and Kopech and the other guys that are there will be able to do it. But I think we just really have to look at some of these guys. The problem is that the White Sox have not been healthy all season. How many games have they even played with their full starting unit? And which will never happen again this season, because Madrigal is not even on the team anymore.
No, he's
so
not.
You don't even have all the guys you started the season with.
Nope.
But so there's a few guys that are either coming off or just came off the IL. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, who do you think out of those guys is going to make the biggest impact down the stretch? Now, I got 3 pitchers for you and 1 position player.
All right.
My pitchers are Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Carlos Rodon,
all right.
And your position player is going to be Tim Anderson.
All right. So out of those pitchers,
out of all 4.
Oh, that's tough.
Out of those 4 total, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact?
That is so tough, because the White Sox go as Tim Anderson goes. He's the biggest hype man. And when he gets a hit or two, when he gets 1 hit, the percentage of them winning is about 80%. When he gets two hits or more, it's 95%. So it's ridiculous. Lance Lynn, he is a dog. He's up there. He's in contention for the Cy Young. He's not going to win it, but he was in contention before he got hurt. Giolito, again, he's got the hamstring problem that he had last year. Hopefully it's just a tweak and not the problem that he had. And then Rodon, your issue with Rodon is the tired arm. He's been literally controlling the entire had the whole team on his back pretty much all season with his strikeouts and his wins. And he's had a couple clunkers, and that's because his arm is tired. So if I had to pick one, I got to go with my guy Tim Anderson, because we go as he goes.
And that's where I would go too, just because you look at the spark that he brings to the team, not only because he's an everyday player, but just like you said, you go, we go. That's how this team operates. I mean, he is the undisputed leader of the team, in my opinion, aside from Abreu. I mean, there's no other more vocal position player that's out there doing this thing every single game. And the only reason I might say that Abreu has more of a leadership, I mean, I as far as like being that like big brother, you could give it to Abreu, but as far as leading by example, you're definitely looking at Tim Anderson. The one advantage that Abreu does have as a leader is the fact that he is a Latino player, and most of your team is Latino. Just point blank, that's what it is. And you have done the White Sox have done a very good job of putting players out there and filling every position on the field with either a star or a potential star player. There's not really a spot on this roster that I look at right now where I'm like, there's your big weakness right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's your big weakness in your lineup when you're hitting. You know what I mean? Because all of these guys, either because of what we've seen them do in a White Sox uniform or the potential that we've seen on other teams before they made their way over to the White Sox, there's not really a weakness on this team.
No,
I think when we look at what White Sox fans are concerned about is consistency and not becoming complacent because you're up by so much.
And this is where Tony has done his magic, where he's put in, Brian Goodwin in the outfield, and he's a cast-off. And then you have Billy Hamilton, a guy who's just considered legs. You're a pinch runner. That's all you are. And Tim Anderson takes these two guys and says, hey, you're more than what people think you are. You guys can hit. Billy Hamilton was a switch hitter. Now he just bats on the left side, I believe. He doesn't do on the right side anymore. So, and then you take Goodwin, same thing. Goodwin, you got some swag. You can hit the ball. And what did Goodwin do? He hit a home run, and he threw his bat 300 feet in the air, and he had a walk-off. He's building these guys to have confidence. That's going to be huge in the playoff series when these guys may be just on the bench because everyone else is healthy. So now you got bench players who got swag and confidence to be like, I don't care if I'm coming off the bench. I'm going to knock one out of the park now.
I think for a team like the Chicago White Sox, who, for all intents and purposes, is a secondary team when you look at this landscape of the Chicago sports scene, it's really important for this team not only to be good, because you can be good and be boring, and that's all well and good if,
look at Tampa. No one shows up to Tampa games.
Yankees, that's the Yankees. They're good and they're boring, you know what I mean? But for the White Sox to have swagger, to have confidence, to have the ability to have fan appeal where you feel like, as a Sox fan, those are my guys. Those are the guys that stand up for Chicago, stand up for that uniform, stand up for that White Sox logo. It's really important for those guys to embrace it and embrace the team and the fans in order to really get over. I mean, you can think of it in wrestling terms. I mean, you know what I mean? They're a little bit of a heel.
Right.
Where other teams are like, man, fuck those guys. Like, you know what? That stupid bat flip, like, Lance Lynn over here throwing his belt and all that. Like, man, I hate when people, hey, White Sox fans, Southsiders, they love that shit. So go with it.
Yeah, we do. And to put the cherry on your point right there, when the Cubs won the World Series, when they were good in 15, then they were great in 16, they won that World Series. As a teacher, I would see more and more Cub stuff, which is fine.
Right.
They're popular, Javi with the tag. You got Chris Bryant with the eyes. I get it. They're good-looking guys. They do well on the field. Yes, they are. And they do well on the field, and they were very popular. They were the team to beat. They were the team to beat after 16. They were there 17 and 18. They were great. So that's going to happen. Your fandom's going to be built up because you're like, oh, they're the winning team in Chicago. That's starting to turn to the other side because I'm starting to see a lot more kids wearing White Sox stuff, which I never saw as a teacher. It was always Cubs. And they're like, oh, why are you wearing White Sox? I'm like, hey, I'm true to my team. You want to choose the Cubs? That's fine. That's you. That's fine. I'm seeing the tide turn a little bit, man. Just saying.
And that's common for any young fandom. I mean, you know how many kids that I saw that became LeBron fans that are now in their early 20s?
Right.
You got these guys that are teenagers now that became fans of Steph Curry and the Warriors when they were like 8-9 years old.
Yep.
You look at worldwide how many fans or people that weren't even fans of sports in general. All of a sudden, I'm the biggest Michael Jordan fan in the world, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So this is a natural progression. I mean, even Sylvie from ESPN talks about his one son is a Cubs fan, his other son is a White Sox fan, and whether it's just to fuck with them or not. But I mean, it again. I think that when it comes to the baseball landscape in Chicago, the Cubs are always going to be popular.
Yes.
Whether it's because of the lore, the stadium, the area, the whole Billy Goat thing and all this stuff. But I think for the city and for the landscape of Chicago baseball, it's actually more important when the White Sox are good because it gives validity to a team that's actually playing good and not just a team that's popular.
Agreed. And I'll put that in there. I'll cut that out and I'll keep that as a little thing there. I agree with you. All right. So let's take a pause. Let's take a pause for the cause and hear a word from our sponsors.
I think I'll perplex him with my slow ball.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
We all know that 2020 was no joke, and with an ever-changing world climate, many people are looking for a new opportunity. Guys, are you looking for a career that rewards effort and makes you feel valued as a team member? Let me tell you a little about our friends at ACSI. ACSI is a certified RCN business agent. They provide the same RCN services with a personalized touch. Their sales and technician teams work hand in hand, ensuring your experience will be smooth and pleasant. Gone are the days of being transferred from one person to the next. At ACSI, they handle everything from start to finish. It's never been so easy to get internet service. ACSI is a growing Chicagoland company that encourages personal growth and rewards perseverance. As they expand, they're looking for passionate, responsible, and honest professionals to join their team. A career with ACSI means you'll be part of a hardworking, flexible, and dynamic team that is a leader in the installation of cable and internet services in the Chicagoland area. Best of all, ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year Award. Are you ready to grow with a local Chicago company on the rise? Check out acsi.tech and click on careers to get started. That's acsi.tech and click on careers.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
It's that time again, brother. You know what time it is. Yes, sir. It's time for Stirring the Pot. All right, brother. Let's put a cap on this summer series of food and situations and whatever else we covered. Let's just get right to it, man. Are you a milkshake guy or a slushy guy? No caveats. No caveats. One or the other.
One or the other. Okay. So I'm going to pick the one that is actually good and delicious, and that's going to be a milkshake all day long. You could do so much more with a milkshake than some frozen ice and some little syrupy sugar shit on top. I'm going milkshake all day.
So what you're saying is that your milkshake brings all the boys to the town.
All of them, and it's to the art. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know what? we're going to end this summer session with an agreement. I do not like slushies. Ooh. I am not a slushy guy. Give me a milkshake. I've actually had boozy milkshakes. You know, they put liquor in some of these milkshakes.
And rum and shit.
Yeah, not my favorite thing to do. But if it's hot out there, I want a milkshake. I want a really good one. Now, do you like your milkshake nice and thick?
I mean, look, hey, thick is always better.
Thick and juicy.
Shout out to that chocolate cake shake at Portillo's.
Oh yeah.
And shout out to Oberweis, man. They got some. I used to work at Oberweis about 25 years ago, back when they used to have one in Lincoln Park. And we would get all of the Paul kids come in, and yeah, I mean fresh, and literally all it was fresh milk, fresh ice cream. That's it. That's all you need for a good milkshake. You know, even the funny thing is that even the chocolate milkshakes were vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup, because you start that base and you add it.
It's not
but
that
yeah,
hard.
I mean, look, milkshakes all day. You can do so much more with a milkshake, and they're the best, man. I don't know who the hell is excited about eating like ice and syrup. That's nasty, bro. You know, it's like, the hell's wrong with you?
You are correct.
Anyway. I know. Hey, look. Hey, today. I will end the summer undefeated as always. I mean, that's
you are not undefeated.
Every single time. Hey, when you're a winner, it's called. You know what this is called, sir? This is called sustained success. When you win all the time, that's me. Thank you very much. But let me ask you a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Before we go, what you looking at? What have you been watching that isn't sports?
I have been on the rabbit hole of the 9/11 documentaries because it is a 20-year anniversary. There was one on Hulu and there was one on Netflix. I've got two out of the way. And I think there's a movie, I can't remember who the actor is, but they just mentioned it. I can't. It might have been Steve Buscemi or somebody else. There's another movie coming out for 9/11. I believe it's on Netflix, and I'll have that queued up for tomorrow. What about you, man? What have you been watching?
So everyone knows that we record on Sundays. So today is actually the 12th, and we were supposed to be at that game yesterday at the White Sox game for 9/11, 20th anniversary of 9/11. I did watch the Apple TV documentary talking about the events that led up to 9/11. Oh, yeah. I'm working my way through the Netflix documentary when we talked about the end of the Cold War and everything going on back and forth between the Taliban and Russia and Afghanistan, and how everything developed there. And I mean, look, we personally, you and I have never talked about 9/11 and the way it made us feel. I will say that, there's a lot of events in our lives that took place. For example, the Columbine shooting happened on April 20th, 1999, the year that we were seniors in high school. We were in school at the time when it happened. And that was one of those really defining, significant moments where we can kind of trace back to the very beginning of some of these school shootings that's been going on for the past 20 plus years now. And 9/11 is definitely one of those things that was just a big moment for our generation. One of the very earliest moments that you think back to where I was. I know exactly what happened. And one of the most major news stories of our lifetime. I mean, United States soil was under attack.
Right.
And I remember my big fear after 9/11 was that, one of the things that we heard a lot was once they declared war on Afghanistan, we thought, a lot of us thought we were getting ready to get drafted. I mean, they thought, that was going to be the case. And I had quite a few friends that had already went to the military because I was in the ROTC. And, man, it was scary times at that time. And just it was just such a devastating moment for this country. It really changed the way that we think, the way that we act. And, it's still hard to it's really still hard watching some of these documentaries to just understand that this is something that actually happened. I mean, it's still shocking to this day.
Yeah, watching all those documentaries, and they found all this footage, and it does seem like it's just a movie and it's make believe, but this actually happened. We know of people who lost people. Especially with us being associated with the Knights and the fire, the blaze. This is something that holds a high regard in our heart, because they are people, and they are the first ones to run into danger to help us out. And when you lose 343 firefighters, there's brothers, there's their fathers, their uncles, their sons. To lose that many firefighters in one event, it's so tragic. And as we looked at it the next day on September 12th, where the country put their boots up, strapped them up super tight, and said, "Hey, we're heading over to go help." Every city's volunteered. Their EMS, their firefighters, their police officers, they all volunteered and drove and went out there, because you couldn't fly. You had to drive out there. Mm-hmm. So this takes a big significance for myself, and I know it does for you too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally wearing right now my Chicago Bears Salute to Service hoodie. I love it. I mean, it's we just came out of a 20-year war where all the troops were brought home, and I'm fearful that we're kind of back where we started. I mean, because as soon as they pulled out, Taliban took over, and the thing is, it's not fair to blame Afghanistan for everything, because Al Qaeda is not all Afghanistan, and Taliban is not Afghanistan. It's just a group of extremists, and unfortunately, there's not people that agree with our beliefs, and we don't agree with theirs, and because of that, there's always going to be war. I'd like to talk about something else that I watched. Okay. Because I've been stuck in the house for a couple of days now on HBO. I think it's HBO or Netflix. It doesn't matter. I literally Saturday, back to back, either Saturday or Friday, I watched in succession all 3 Hangover movies. They are just as funny as when they came out in 2009. That's how long that's how long it's been since the first one came out. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched all three, or if you haven't watched the third one, they're all available now. And the other show that I've been watching, it's called Mr. Corman on Apple TV.
How far are you on that one? How far are you on that?
I'm caught up.
Okay, I think I got 1 or 2 episodes to watch. I think the last one I got to were, was it the Panic Attack? Or the one after that? The one after the Panic Attack. That's as far as I got. I'm just like, this is so weird. It is so weird.
You know what? It's weird. This is a Joseph Gordon-Levitt project, and he is the director. I want to say he's probably the writer of the show as well.
Yep.
You know, here's the thing. I am a visual artist. I am a conceptual artist as far as like when I think about the way that I do graphic design and the way that my mind puts things into places. So I understand what you're doing there. There's a few aspects of it where it's kind of, you're like, what the hell's happening? But I think realistically, any good show leaves you with a little bit of that. What the hell just happened? How did we get here? You know, instead of being spoon-fed bullshit like Friends or How I Met Your Mother or Big Bang Theory. Here, little boy, here's here's some bland, basic sugar. It's sweet. You can digest it. Nah, give me that Rocky Road. There's a bunch of shit mixed in there. I don't know what your goal was, but we'll see when I get through it. And at the end, I'll probably like it. So that's me personally. You know what I mean? Like, if you get what I'm saying with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I didn't lose anyone yet. But yeah, I mean, like, I kind of dig I like the weird shit sometimes. It's a fun show. It's interesting. Your favorite rapper of all time, Logic, is in it. Yeah, he is an actor in the show. So it's an interesting show. I want to say Gente Fight is coming back too on Netflix. That should be coming back.
That is coming back. And what's the other one that's coming back with the kids?
There's a lot of shit coming back, man.
Yeah. Pretty much all the good shows are coming back in the fall, so we'll have plenty to talk about. And I know Easy excited for Grey's Anatomy coming back too as well.
Grey's Anatomy going into its 157th season. Meredith Grey is now Meredith White because all of her hair fell out and her skin is pasty white, and that's actually her skeleton because she's dead. Yeah, just like all the other cast members. I want to know how much like old cast members are being paid residuals. I mean, it's insane. They've been through like 8 casts by now, and somehow that one lady's still there, and everyone else died. I don't know how many. I used to work in a hospital. I don't remember that many people dying at once.
I think there's like three or four characters still alive from episode 1.
God, I mean, how many? There's
disasters.
only so much anatomy you can take.
Yeah. She's been through like every catastrophe ever.
Seriously.
All right, man.
All right, let's
get out of here, man.
Let's stop talking about Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, like I don't know why we do that. That's
because I like to poke at the bear.
All right, y'all. That is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. Don't forget to check out the virtual job fair September 15th. Go to acsi.tech and check out their career section to start an exciting new career in the communications industry. acsi.tech. Check out the virtual career fair September 15th. Shout out to Mike, Logic, and Ideal. The new episodes of the AllNet podcast are available every other Monday. NBA season is coming up pretty soon, so don't forget to check out past episodes for your best analysis of the NBA previous former playoffs and all that good shit. Yeah. Don't forget to check out the Shy Native Radio podcast, now available on all major platforms. Mike, Logic, Ideal, throw MC in words, talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit. Go and check them out right now. And check out my friend expertise. Check out Some of This and Some of That podcast. They're just starting out, so give them a boost. They talk about all types of topics, not sports, relationship, movies, music, all that good shit, so go check them out. Shout out to Ronesh and shout out to Panic for the beats we played on today's show. Check out paniconthebeat.com for all your Moment merch and gear. And check us out on social media. You can find us at True Shy Fans on Twitter. That's at True CHI Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and reach out to us on our email. We want to hear from you guys. Reach us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. Real quick, shout out to Mikey O and the rest of the crew there, the CPD nights and all that, all the events that we did with them over the past couple of weeks and the summer. It was a blast going out there and announcing the game last week. And we always have a lot of fun with them, and we appreciate them for involving us with their events and all the charity that we've been doing with them. This has been a really, really cool partnership that we've had with them.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, it was fun to make fun of some comedians and give it back to them since they like to make fun of us when we go to the show.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun announcing that game last week, making fun of all the comedians and how terrible they are at softball. That was a lot of fun. So we hope we'll let you know when our next event will be. And yeah, man. All right, y'all, for Big Z, this is E-Rock. We'll see you next week for episode 63. Until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.
For the love of sports. Did you just
Until then, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
I'm Ron Burgundy. I totally did. I totally burgundied that shit.
A few moments later.
You have a lot of incest.
That's real.
Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos. Show's over, show's over, show's over.